Otherwise, all right. Of course, we'll record the session, so feel free to type in any comments, any questions you have. This is Purpose Clinic. Feel free to type in your questions. So for those who are joining, we're saying welcome to Purpose Clinic. We are going to have a question and answer session where we will go through a session where we will discuss, explore, and find clarity in terms of purpose, finding your passion, and also just building on your personal growth. So welcome again, and we will go through a question and answer session. Feel free to put in your questions in the chat box. Right. So some of you were able to share questions, which I'm going to project, and then Gabriel will take us through some of those questions and even those which you will ask. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. Gabriel, I don't know if you want to start with your introduction and then I can go to the questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Winnie. And good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where we are watching this from. Thank you, Winnie, for the hosting. And I'm so privileged to have this evening conversation. My name is Gabriel Nyamu, and I am a purpose coach. I have a very simple assignment in life, and that is to make people live fulfilling, impactful, and transcending living. Life that is able to give you joy and fulfillment, but at the same time, you're able to impact others and, of course, the planet. And you can also be able to live beyond your lifetime. That's what we call the legacy and the transcending nature of our life impact. So in simplicity, that's what I do. So help people discover their purpose, but not just discover, also leverage their purpose, whether into business, into career, and many other aspects and dimensions of our living. So happy to engage, and I'm sure we'll also be learning from each one of us. I'm excited. Over, back to Winnie.
Thank you, Gabriel. So I'm going to project the questions here, Gabriel, and I'm going to answer you. These questions were actually shared with some of us here. So Gabriel, one of the questions that was asked, and I would want you to share with us, is how do you discover your life purpose and growth and the tools used for the same?
All right, thank you. It's a quite very general question. It's a question that you wish we had a lot of time to dissect and be able to engage further. Yeah. However, maybe it's just good to lay the foundation right even before I respond to that question. One is that what is purpose? Purpose is the reason for existence or the reason why something created or even made exists for. It's the why, the question why. Meaning then, and I know maybe the initial answer is not likely to be very straightforward, meaning then the best way to understand your purpose is actually to look at the might and the intent of who created you. So if I have this mug here, and I hope we can see it, maybe we can be sharing on and off the screen so that I can be able to see the people's faces. This jug that I'm having here, I think if it is to discover itself, the best way is to consult whoever manufactured it. And I think that's the straight and narrow way. It's the obvious thing. Just consult the designer, consult the one who created us. That's a simple. However, now, the patterns of life will always give you an indication of your life purpose, meaning that anything that is created, even the design, the features that are allowed the created thing, or even something that is manufactured or made, we call it a product of design. The design itself always will manifest the purpose. That's the reason why we have eyes in front, why we are a domineering species. Anything that has eyes in front, if you look at even the cat family, the lions, the cheetahs, they have eyes in front. They don't have eyes on the side. That's already give you an idea. This is a predator. So when you get even any created living thing and it has eyes in front, automatically the first thing that comes to you, this is a predator. This is not like a cow or a buffalo or a goat or an antelope or a gazelle. No. The design itself automatically have a certain way of manifesting the function. I know I'm going through the question, but the thing is, the discovery of purpose is a self-awareness process generally. But it is good beyond just the normal self-awareness of our emotions, that people do emotional intelligence, my temperament. No, it has to go beyond that to another dimension where then you're able to do a more deeper introspection of your biases, you're different, because your purpose is actually you're different. I know it has a spiritual dimension, and I'm more biased towards that in terms of course, the biblical meaning of asking God to give you the purpose. But you'll find there's always that natural bias that you gravitate around. There are like almost 10 things I can share here that will always be pointers. By themselves may not be the purpose, they'll be always pointers. Things like give you horrid discontent. You know, there are those times where you interact with something and then you feel so angry. But if you question, why did I feel angry? You're watching news and you see children maybe being exploited, or you see corruption, or you go to a hotel and you are served in a bad way and you're like, wait a minute, I deserved a better service. And I think I know that how that better service look like. The reason why you're responding even to the gaps as you see, whereas maybe somebody else you could be with maybe seeing this as normal. So the things that actually even activates you, the things that gives you a certain sense of discomfort, or I call it a holy anger, these can give, of course, joy and fulfillment. Even environment that kind of gravitates around you. I think in my purpose coaching, I've shared this several times in terms of a person who told me that he journaled the last 10 phone calls that he had received. Every day he journaled the last 10 phone calls at the end of the day. And he discovered actually most of the phone calls have something to do with financial issues. And he did, of course, he's running a microfinance, a quite a well-established microfinance. But it took a lot of journey actually to see the environment around him actually already speaking, because even people attracted to you mostly, they're attracted because of the grace you carry. I was talking to another person in one of the coaching sessions who told me whenever he goes to any town, he will always find Warevi are these drunkards. And he has a language for them. You drop him in Kisumu and within 10 minutes, there are Warevis around him. And he has not invited them. They just gravitate around him. And it is because there's a grace within each one of us, actually, on how we dispense that grace to others. The thing is, we are not usually very conscious about our life. We are too busy, maybe because of, earning, living, paying bills and other things, of course, that preoccupy our engagement. But you're able actually to listen to the intuition behind even the things that happen on a daily basis. I call them the whispers of purpose. Having said that, let me now go straight head on into the question. I was just giving some pointers. However, in our purpose coaching, the way we approach discovery, we always discover it from a point of convictions that activate you. There are those convictions that you are actually biased with. And those convictions are not passions. Sometimes you mistake between conviction and passions. Purpose is not passion. Convictions are strong persuasions within yourself of truth, and that truth activates you. If you look at somebody like Nelson Mandela, he had the conviction that the liberation has to happen, apartheid has to stop, and he believed he is the one. Now that's a very strong sense of conviction. Wangari Maathai had a strong conviction that vegetation need to be preserved, you need to preserve nature and our trees and all that, and I'm willing to die for that. That which gives you conviction that you can almost be willing to die for. Literally, there's no difference between your life and that conviction, most likely. That's actually your purpose. It is different from passion, because passion sometimes may be very selfish. Most of the times you're attracted to things that we love. And there are things that you love that are more selfish. I love movies, maybe. I love adventure. Question is, so what? If at the end of that equation, there is no way you're dispensing grace to others, it is just stop at you. That's not purpose. So there are all those pointers, Winnie, as you have articulated that question. However, of course, the journey requires a bit more exploration, but it's a journey of self-discovery, it's a journey of introspection, it's a journey of journaling your life accounts, but all of a sudden, you're able to see some patterns in your life that are actually your bias, or what we call your difference. And that's what distinct you. Myself as an individual, through my life over the last almost 17 years that I have been in this space, it's very clear in my life that I'm called actually to transform people's mindset, just to make people see things differently, but towards the direction of their purpose-led living. So, and it's something that whether I'm doing my consultancy, I'm doing training, I'm doing coaching, I'm doing other programs, even research and all that, you'll find that will always be at the heart and at the center of what I dispense to other people.
Thank you. Thank you, Gabriel.
Welcome, Winnie. I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you for that answer. So the other question which I see on the screen, I think I may not be able to project, I'll just read through them, is do the struggles and challenges that one face in life make them discover their purpose? And how do you effectively rise from the pain to purpose?
Very good question. And that's a very common question I get in many of my forums. And I will say largely yes, but not 100%. Now I'll make a comment before I describe or maybe give my interjection on that. Number one is pain is inevitable in life. I mean, you don't choose to be born in a poor family. You don't choose to be born by a parent who is not necessarily in a good state, or probably even being an orphan. I mean, you don't have control of that. And therefore, sometimes in life, you go through pain. However, the comment I want to make is that pain is inevitable, but suffering from pain is a product of choice. Now, why am I saying that? Yes, most of the times, your greatest place of testing, and I use the word testing, your greatest point of testing, most of the time, it's a preparation ground for a grace you carry on others. Because you have never been watered, it's very hard to water others. If you have never been encouraged yourself, and you have never gone through a case where you went through a tough situation that actually you had to get people to come and encourage you, and then your purpose is encouragement, there will be a dissonance there. Because the story, your story and your testimony, most of the time, actually is one of the greatest assets in your life as an authority over other people's life. So if you've been abused and you have gone through the abuse, that's an unfortunate, and nobody really intentionally would want to attract that. However, if it happens and you question the element of, could there be something I've been prepared for, and a testimony that's being built, and that story become your asset? In fact, it's the initial capital most of the times. When we do coaching, some of us, we've gone through thick and thin in terms of even discovering ourselves. During our time, I think over 20 years ago, we didn't have mentors. I think the issue of mentorship and coaching have just happened the last decade or 15 years, thereabout. But having gone through some struggles in life and getting lost, making some very expensive decisions that were dear costly, most of the times, it was a preparation for even myself, for example, to be able to be an anchor and a coach for others. Sometimes you may need to be optioned, and I'm not saying that's what you wish for, to be able to advise somebody on financial empowerment. So you'll be going through that pain, yes. But the thing is not the pain. The thing is, could there be transformation that you're going through that may be polishing and refining you for a certain cause? But as I said, it is not 100% that all pain, because sometimes also we are human beings, we have a will, and sometimes willingly we get ourselves into trouble. There are some cases where you willingly just call trouble. You can attract trouble by your own carelessness and all other things. But of course, if you have been able to live a life that is, of course, modest and you're doing the right things and all that, and still you go through some form of pain, chances are that allowed pain will be a point of testing. And that's like an academy. It's like a training ground. Chances are, and I have not seen, because I've interacted with hundreds and thousands of people who are even doing coaching and purpose-led individuals who are leaders in many organizations. Most of them, when you ask them about their story, their purpose and their story has something connected. You always find this something that they were being prepared at the beginning, and through that preparation, they were being molded to serve a certain function. Remember, I said our design, including the design of this cup, the design itself usually have a projection of the why it is designed like this. If you have this kind of a cup and doesn't have an opening here, can it be used as a purpose of drinking something? No. The reason why it has an opening is because that is a functioning by itself. So even the experiences that happens through our life, most of the times you'll find they become a molding. But of course, you have to be very careful. As I said in the beginning, not 100%, you have to be very careful because there could be some elements of carelessness in life that also could make you have trouble. And therefore, you don't just say, oh, this one is because I was meant to be so and so. No, not necessarily. So I would say yes, to answer that person, yes. Some moments of pain, mostly, maybe some triggers or a buildup of a testimony or an equipping that helps you become an authority of other people. I forgot to say in the beginning that the purpose mostly is not for ourselves. If you start with those basics, that why would God give you a purpose? It is not for yourself. We usually say you don't live for yourself. In fact, poverty is living for yourself. Even doesn't matter how many billions you have. If it's living for yourself, you're still poor. So purpose-led living, mostly you find, is a way in which you dispense to others. And that's why we call it redemptive purpose. You're redeeming others in some situation. You could be a source of encouragement. You could have, maybe your purpose is empowering people financially, and therefore, whenever you get, you're able to interact with people and make them be financially free. You could be a person who challenges people for innovation. Whatever it is, you'll find that your purpose manifests on others' redemption. So because of that, even when you're going through pain, if pain is meant you to become an authority over others, if I've never gone through things like some loss, how will I encourage somebody and be able to fit into their shoe? I know this is what you call empathy in HR and in soft skills training. How do you exercise empathy? How do you fit in my shoe, literally, if you cannot identify and relate with my situation? It's very hard. I'll just consider you having a theoretical abstract that may not be relatable to me. So if I'm coming to you for financial advice, and you have never gone through some financial difficulties, you have never experienced some breakthroughs, there's a challenge with that. In fact, there'll be no difference between that and maybe, sorry to use this word, the shakahola. Why would you promise me that, yeah, I have these 10 steps that if you follow, you're going to be financially stable, as an example. You yourself, you have not gone through those steps and they're not working for you. What authority would you have to really be able to model that kind of life? It's very hard. So sometimes our pain may be a preparation to go through an equipping and empowering situation that position you to become an authority. And even when you're coaching people, when you're empowering them, when you're dispensing the grace to them, in fact, it's undisputable. You command an authority over them. And that's very critical for us to be able to understand from that perspective. So I'll make that comment and say pain is inevitable, but suffering as a result of the pain we go through, mostly it's a product of choice. It's a decision issue sometimes. We make decisions sometimes to suffer. But pain, as long as you're a human being, you will always suffer pain. But there are decisions you have to make, and that's why God has given us will. That willpower helps you be able to make remarkable decisions out of that pain. So yes, pain can be a pointer. I will not call it pain as a purpose, no. But pain can be a pointer towards the direction of your life purpose. But you have to consider that prayerfully.
All right. All right. Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you for that. And it's very, very relatable. You know, I kept on shaking my head because it's very, very relatable. I mean, pain can really push you towards a place where it puts you on a journey to actually find your purpose. So the third question that I see here is someone is asking, what is personal growth and how do you overcome self-doubt and fear?
Sorry, the first question was, what is personal? Sorry, I missed
growth.
that.
What is personal growth and how do I overcome self-doubt and fear?
All right, thank you so much again for that question. Now, I'll go to the second question first, because I think that can answer everything else. How do you overcome fear? Let me start with a statement I'll make. I'm one of the person who says, follow convictions, not clarity. That convictions come before clarity. And why we have trouble in many of the times is because sometimes we know the truth, but the truth have not yet convicted us to set us free. I know that's biblical. Thou shalt know the truth, and the truth will set you free. When there is freedom, there is no fear. And even if they say it's not the fear that we may call fear. So question is, if you build in strong convictions, you almost become bulletproof. I'll give you my personal testimony. When I started my journey back in 2008, and in 2008 is when I was actually going through my purpose, discovery and all that. And at least by 2010, I was very clear about my life. And most of the establishment I have done, even the businesses I've started to do before, actually started from 2010, because that's actually where the apex was. Now, when I was leaving to do full-time business from employment, I remember I had a team of people that I could share with them in terms of, I'm planning to leave in the next maybe 6 months, 4 months, 2 months. Actually, unfortunately, myself, I planned only for 3 months to exit, though I had already kind of have an idea even years before. So I remember there are people that we left almost the same time. We actually almost left for the same time. Now, I had actually one type of person who is a friend of mine who, sorry to use that as an example, he had told me, Gabriel, I have saved money for 1 year. So meaning, I have saved for 1 year, meaning 1 year, even if I don't get an assignment out there in the free world, I can survive on my own. I can pay my medical. I can continue subscribing my golf club, all those things. The life, I can sustain life for 1 year, even if I don't get anything out there. So you can imagine how much that will cost you. So we were out there. Myself, actually, I don't think I had even probably, I couldn't say I have something like for 3 months, not necessarily. Maybe I only have an idea of like 2 months on how I'm going to navigate. And it's not because I was not planning, no. And I know how you plan, how you prepare and all that. But I had very strong convictions about why I'm doing what I'm doing. Now, unfortunate story is that, of course, my friend, within 7 months, she started looking for a job. She was actually a director in a very big corporation. She started looking for a job, which even today, which is almost 10 years ago, she's still actually in the same space. And I don't mean there's nothing wrong with working. No, you could be dispensing your purpose where you are. It doesn't mean that everybody has to start their own investments. No. The thing is, of course, wherever you are, you need to be very careful that you're not there for survival. You're not just there because of a job description. You're not there, at least you are there for a divine transcending value. So the thing is, that person was following clarity. Clarity is where everything has to be green, 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 green. So you can be able to see from here to Thika. I want to go to Thika. You can see up to Thika. So you're waiting for everything to be clear. I don't think I have seen anywhere that has ever worked. So if you want to overcome fear, you have to replace fear with strong convictions, which is a building block of faith. Because only faith can actually be able to chase away fear. So when you find yourself fearing, mostly it is because of what you hold as your assurance. What I may call the comfort. Like if you have saved for 18 months and I have enough capital that can sustain me for the next, not even capital, cash flow, can sustain me for the next 2 years. It means you're putting your faith on that pot, 5 million, okay? Now, if that 5 million is your assurance and it's shaken, you get to fear. Now, the thing is, you need to build convictions that are not founded and they are not based on such material issues, including building your trust and hope on others that I know so and so who can bail me out. Those are the things that make you fear, because if those comforts are disrupted, automatically you are left exposed. What am I trying to say here? Your convictions must be faith-driven. You have really to have gone to the burning bush like Moses to listen to God, and God will illuminate your mind in terms of, this is what I want you to do. And that gives you strong conviction on life, that even if things are all red, if they are all red, you still have no element of doubt on what you're doing. Now, we have people who are pursuing things, but with no convictions. Now, you'll ask me, of course, automatically, what are convictions? And I usually say convictions is the knowledge of truth that activates you. In short, it sets you free. So when Wangari Maathai had this conviction that trees must be safeguarded and vegetation must be protected, and this is the only way to safeguard the future in terms of the climate, let me tell you, that is not something she was second guessing. No, it is beyond a motivation. Conviction is beyond a motivation, which can be short term. That's a strong persuasion that hold you hostage. You almost become a slave to that conviction, and actually it activates you. You'll see something not done right, and you'll jump there, whether there's a gun pointed on your figure or not. Question is, which conviction? When you do purpose coaching, we don't start with journaling things like passions and all that, the things that you love. No, we always begin by what are the convictions you have established in your life as a response to the knowledge of the truth that activates you. So that always automatically chase your fears. Of course, the other things now I can see now secondary. Secondary, of course, in terms of the association issues, the kind of company you keep, because of course they give you comfort. Make sure you also marry right. For those who are married and those who are looking to marry, because again, of course, your greatest support pillar is always the family. So always make sure at least you have strong family that is supporting you. And of course, the good associations is very critical. Now, there's also the power of visioning. When you have a vision that is so strong, what happens is that it helps you kind of bypass realities. You're able to see ahead. Let's say, for example, I have a conviction about I have to reach out or reduce unemployment in Africa. And that's a vision I'm casting to that, to myself. I'm just giving you as an example. If that is the case, what will happen is, even if I get challenges right now, maybe I'm getting difficulty even to have Kenya unemployment being resolved. But remember, I have this kind of moonshot that Africa must have employment. There's a way that big picture always give you an assurance because it's a reality you see. And we all know that what you see mostly will always manifest over time, even if it's not within your time. Because that's how God have allowed us, the power of imagination, the power of visioning, and be able to cast the reality into the future. So when you have a strong vision, there's a way it kind of helps the difficulties that you go through. What you call change the elevation point. When you're flying on an airplane, even the mountains that you are seeing here, when you're not, you're seeing valleys and mountains. When you elevate your viewpoint and you see them from the clouds, what do you see? A flat ground. So chances you are seeing mountains that are fearing, making you fear because your viewpoint is at the low level. When you elevate your viewpoint, you start seeing the terrains and everything leveled, even when they are mountains. So I think that's something that you need to interrogate the source of the fear itself. Where is it coming from? Is it because of doubt? Is it because of maybe you have not established strong convictions about your life? Or maybe your assurance is around some very material things that can always be shaken. And of course, you get exposed. Now, growth, that was the second question. Growth, I will define growth as an expanded impact of your purpose, literally. Because as we said, you can actually succeed in the wrong direction. I would call that growth. And in fact, I have a typical case of somebody who was desiring to become a CEO at a point and went through a coaching process. I interacted with the person at a point, and actually he got that CEO position after almost 9 months of coaching. He was a manager, later applied for CEO jobs and got a CEO job. We met almost 8 months after that. And just doing an evaluation telling me, Gabriel, I'm not still fulfilled. I thought getting that position is actually what was my desire, and I'll be fulfilled. The guy got the position, CEO commanding several hundreds of people as a CEO, but still was telling me, I don't know what I'm looking for. Why? You don't necessarily have to have become a CEO to pursue your purpose. No. So you find sometimes we end up succeeding in the long direction. And we are moving at speed in that wrong direction. So growth should be directional. Simply because I've accumulated some wealth, I have nice assets, I have investment that are stable, does not necessarily make me successful in terms of growth. No. Growth should be actually being able to have an expanded impact or influence in the line and the direction of your purpose. So for me, I'll give it that as a direction. Otherwise, as much as you may achieve other things, I've met people who are doing their third degree, second master's, they're doing their second PhD, and they're telling you, yeah, I did the first one, I'm still not sure exactly what I'm looking for. So would you call that academic achievement growth? Not necessarily. There are people, I met somebody who was telling me, no, I think I need to dispose 2 of my houses. I think I need to get, rid of them. They are becoming a headache right now. And I'm like, wow, I thought that was growth, So growth should be in the direction of your purpose. If the purpose is not there in that growth, I won't call that growth. But of course, it has to always begin with your capacity. Purpose has to transform you first before actually dispense it to others. And that's what I may consider the real sustainable growth over your life.
All right, thank you, Gabriel. Thank you so much. The next question is, how can one navigate through their purpose while still being employed?
Good. People mistake purpose with that you have to resign your job. And that's a long notion about purpose. No. I discovered my purpose in 2009 there. I actually served my employer. I worked in the banking, I worked in the insurance space. I continued working for actually another 5 years. I left my employment from 2015 there. Those 5 years, what happened is this, and I want to encourage even those who are already employed somewhere. You don't have to stop what you do. Now, by God's design, and this I will say cautiously, by God's design, no experience we go through, it's in vain. You'll find even why God has put you in the environment you are in, it could be a pathway towards your destiny. Sometimes only that we are not privy to that. We are kind of not, we are bride to that. So the thing is, if you discover your purpose first, what you'll do, where you are, you will always identify opportunities to leverage that purpose. Purpose does not necessarily mean that you have to resign and then go and start your own things. No, not everybody has the grace to become a founder of an NGO, a founder of a social movement, a founder of a business. Not necessarily. You could be a person who facilitates implementation of some of the other visions. But the thing is, are you doing it intentionally? When I discovered my purpose myself for the 5 years I worked, I had worked 6 years before then. They were my best time ever. Why? I actually changed my mindset that I'm no longer working for the bank I was working for. My mindset shifted to that I am partnering with my employer to fulfill, of course, the employer purpose as I fulfill my purpose. And I could see connections there. Let me give you an example. I do coaching, I do leadership program. I developed my first ever leadership program in year 2010 when I was working in the bank. 2010. I had a leadership program, I call it Jet Leader. That Jet Leadership program, which I usually do even today as a 6 months coaching, literally, it's a very premier program. I did it in 2010 when I was still employed. Now, what did I do? I started exercising. Now, this is what had happened. When I was working, we had sent some guys, abroad. The bank had sponsored some people to go and study abroad, and they were doing very executive programs. They spent a lot of millions of money. They went to London Business School and all that. They came back. I could not see transformation. And I was very, very angry. Remember I told you, sometimes the holy anger, it's a pointer towards a solution you have. I was already angry that how can the company spend millions, send guys to London Business School for executive leadership program where they were even addressed by presidents of the international banks that time, like in a Barclays, Stanchart, but the president were actually the facilitators of those programs. When they came back, we expected they are going to perform, above notch. I waited. We tried to look for return on investment, nothing. That thing already angered me, literally. I was so mad. How can this happen? I was feeling like it's my money. It's not my money, actually. It's bank's money. And because I was in the human resource function, I said, no, I have a solution. So I actually created the leadership program that time as an attempt, and I was very young. I had not probably gotten a lot of exposure, but I developed that program as a response to filling that gap. I was mad to see people going through leadership program and they are not transforming. I could not see transformation of their mind. So what I did, I started that program. Then I piloted it with my own managers. The beauty of course, when you're in HR, you can always have an access. So I used to have some sessions with managers and I walked them through my own session. They thought maybe I'm reading a book. It was actually my own DNA. And out of it, they'll tell me, wow, I had not seen it that way. That is so transformational. And they could tell me their benefit. I'm like, wow, wait a minute. So I continually refined it. So even before I had to leave to do my own things on a standalone way, I already had my 5 years that I actually spent where now, actually I was almost using my employer as a channel. And I remember telling my boss at time, I'll never come to you for any salary increment because I've discovered why I'm here. It is not because of the payroll, not because of the pay slip, not because of the job description, not because of the contract. I have known that I'm here to transform people's mindset. So I was now even taking advantage more when I'm there. And of course, when I just moved out, it was not like assignation, it was more of just trying to expand my horizon. And that also made me that when I left, all my previous employers are even today my first customers, even to date. All the employers that I ever served are actually my still corporate customers to date. So the thing is, you start where you are, with what you have, with who you have. The only worry for you is, have you really truly discovered that purpose? If you have discovered it, start where you are. Until you get convictions, probably now to go and scale it elsewhere. That's what I can advise you. Winnie, I think you're muted.
All right, thank you, Gabriel. I like start where you are with what you have, with whom you have. Yeah, so thank you very much for those answers. I hope we're being impacted. I hope we have something we're taking away from tonight. The next question, Gabriel, is sorry, that was the fourth one. Is there a difference between a purpose and a mission?
All right. It's also a very good targeted question. Now, this is what happens. Purpose is the why you exist. The why. The mission is what you need to do to fulfill that why. So they are very connected. It's like a head and a tail of a coin. So one answers the why. Why? That why, of course, is the purpose. And that's the most important because that gives you the direction, the why. Mm-hmm. But then there's what you need to do to fulfill that purpose. I'll give you maybe my example. I know my essence pure and my calling is actually to be a fountain of wisdom and knowledge that transform people's minds. Just to help people change their way of thinking and see things differently, and especially in the direction of purpose-led living. That's purely my purpose. However, how many channels can I use? In what ways can I do that? I can do so many things. I can establish a movement, okay? And I do trainings, and I do coaching, and I do radicalization of that, Those are things, what I do. You can do so many things to fulfill the same purpose. So what you do to make that purpose be fulfilled, that's what you call mission. When you say, I am on a mission, that's what we call the mission. Now, from there, you go to what you call the vision. So the vision, of course, is the level of ambition of the impact you want to make in the direction of your purpose. So if my work is to transform, my purpose to transform people's mindset in the direction of their purpose. How many I want to transform? That's a vision issue. Do I want to transform in Africa? That's a vision because it's a level of ambition. You want to occupy what space of your domain, okay? Or what space do you want to dominate within your influence? That is what we call a vision. So there's the purpose, the mission, and the vision. Now, people have always gotten that wrong in the past because most of the time, even in organizations, we always used to start with the vision. Now, I want to give you statistics of what is happening currently. And I want you to check. There was an article written by Harvard Business Review in February, around 13/11/2022. And actually, they were saying we have discovered something in the C-level. The C-level is, of course, the C-suite. Actually, most of the Fortune 50 and Fortune 500 companies started dropping the vision statement from their organizations. And they will put that as an internal process, not for public consumption. And I get where that is coming from. Because the vision is a bit selfish. It's a bit more your own commitment. I want to conquer Africa. So what? Okay. So if we check well, what people may want to know from you is actually the purpose and the mission. Vision, you can actually keep it to yourself, literally. You don't have to promise to us, I want to conquer Africa. I mean, so what? The thing is, if you're telling us your purpose, that is a promise to us. Your mission of what you're going to do to fulfill that purpose, that becomes the mission. Those two are public for public consumption, literally, because you are not called for yourself. So the mission and the purpose is actually for who you are impacting. But the vision, most of the time, is actually your level of ambition. And what companies are doing, and you can go and Google, actually even locally here, some blue chips, some big organizations like even Isuzu, you'll check their statement in the corporate website, they have dropped the vision. And I know that's a trend because I do a lot of strategy consultancy. most of even the strategic plans we are doing currently, we are more anchoring them on purpose first. Clarify the purpose, clarify the mission, then the vision can even be very short term. I know initially we used to do the rivers where you cast a moonshot, which is a very hairy, big, hairy, ambitious goal. And then, of course, now start doing the other way. But we've discovered that is not sustainable. In fact, in the dispensation of impact, sustainability of impact, it has been proven that purpose-led organizations are currently more sustainable. They are more future-proof than vision and profit-led organizations. So that's just a takeaway in terms of what maybe we can be able to dissect further, especially when you're doing deep dive in the purpose coaching series. And I hope at least you're able to get some insights from that. So yes, you can differentiate between the mission, the vision, but the purpose is the why, the mission is what you need to do. And mission, sometimes we find it's the container, the channels in which you want to dispense your grace. So you can have multiple, you can have several missions, but the purpose chances are is one. But you can dispense it through several missional activities.
All right, thank you very much, Gabriel, for that. The next question is, can purpose be as simple as being a good friend to someone, a destiny helper, or just being a good parent?
That is almost a question I have been asked in many questions, especially for our very well able, suitable helpers. I don't know to guess whether that question may have come from a lady. Most of the ladies I interact with, a lady will tell me, Gabriel, can my purpose just be a good mother? And like the mother of Jesus, and a very good husband. And I tell them, why not? However, let me now get one step backwards so that you get where I'm coming from. We have 4 dimensions of purpose. There is what we call universal purpose. Universal purpose is the purpose for any created thing, including the gazelle in savannah, the rocks in Aberdares, the trees, including mosquito. Okay? Mosquito has a purpose. It is this general purpose for anything created. The universe, the sun, the stars, everything has. In what you call quantum physics, they will say entanglement. And I love that, the theory of science in terms of quantum physics. So the concept of that, which is very true, literally true, empirically true, we call that universal purpose. Then we have another purpose for humanity. That now makes you different between you and the rock, you and the tree, you and the antelope, you and the cheetah in savannah. So there's a purpose for humanity, the human being. And when you discover that, I remember during COVID, when you're doing some of these sessions, I used to tell people, why I'm not worried about COVID is one thing. There's only one thing, because I believe in the biblical truth, there's only one species that will ever dominate the world. And that species is called human being. Mosquitoes will never dominate the world. Antelopes will never dominate the world. Elephants, as big as they are, they will never dominate the world. Lions, they will never dominate the world. There's only one species that has been created to dominate the world. It's only the human being, because there's a purpose for human being, the humanity, whether you are evil or you are righteous. So I'm not separating that. The human, as long as you're human, there is a certain general purpose of humanity, like to dominate the world. That's why human being dominates everything, whether it's extractive or destructive or constructive. But it's a human being who is even, damage even our environment anyway, in the attempt to dominate. That's the second one. There's a third one. The third one is generational purpose. Why were you born in the 21st century? Why do you live today? Why were you not born in 730 AD? There's a reason and a divine time, a privilege of being born in a certain age. Why do you think in the 18th century, which you call the first industrial revolution, is when we had so much scientific outpour? There was a downpour of wisdom. People were just inventing things. Akina Galileo, Akina Faraday, Akina Isaac Newton, they all came within a certain 100-year space. Why? That was a divine time for some certain initial stage of scientific revolution. And most of the scientific reality we have written even today, why we have been able to orbit the universe and launch spacecraft out there, is because of things that happened in the 18 Newton's laws of physics. Now, question is, and I know right now we have set another dimension in the what you may call the new age currently, which we are almost rediscovering the truth. There's a reason why you are born such a time. Then finally, there is what we call the individual life purpose. So we started with the universal, the purpose for humanity, the purpose of the advantage of time, which we call the generation aspect. The age, I call it the wisdom of the age. And then finally, you as individual, you as Ivarin, you as Irene, you as Yanda, you as Rosemary Shira, you as Stanley Keboy, as an individual level. Now, that issue of serving as, let's say, a good wife, in fact, it's a general purpose, which is universal, because we are all entangled. In fact, you should always make sure you're in associations that you are impacting value to others. Be good friends. That's general. Who should not be good friends? That's the question. I ask believers, especially people who believe, they're actually most of the people who are challenging discovering purpose. Why? They hide behind the generic universal purpose. So you ask somebody, what's your purpose? To serve God. Then I tell them, who should not serve God? Every humanity should serve God, including trees, including mosquitoes. They should glorify God. That's a very general purpose. So me as a husband, I have a general purpose as a husband. To be strong, to offer the identity, to define the purpose of my children. That's general, and every parent indiscriminately should have the same. So if you are a wife, this general purpose of being a wife, and you should serve that indiscriminately. We call those general universal purpose. But at the heart of it all, you have your individual unique bias. So you continue doing the general. The general is universal for all of us. It doesn't make you any different. If I'm saying I'm a father, I'm parenting well and all that, doesn't make me different from another father who is also doing the same. No, it's a general expected purpose. But beside that, there is always a unique bias at an individual level. And that's what you need to discover. Of course, we will not have time to dissect on that. And that unique bias, which makes you very unique and very, let me give you another dimension maybe that can take that point home, because I know this is one of the things that people get stuck. Assume, and I want us to do a thought experiment. I love research. I want to give you a thought experiment. I give 10 people, maybe you are going through a grieving period. Maybe you have lost something or lost something treasured to you. Then I mobilize 10 people. And I also mobilize an 11th person who I call a robot. The 11th one is a robot. Yeah? So I have 11 beings, 10 people, and the 11th one is robot. Then I give you a script to go and encourage you. So Rosemary come and lead a script to you and tell you, oh, they're so sorry, Irene, for going through it. May God encourage you. We are together and I'm supporting you. I give them the same script, 10 people reciting the same script, and even may tell them how to react. I'll tell them to cry in front of you, to show emotions, to feel you, I can tell them what to do religiously. And also a robot that I can program. Also the robot come and sit in front of you. And the robot recite the same script of encouragement to you. It's a thought experiment. Do you think you are going to experience the same grace from the 11 agents? It's a question for you. It's when you discover that inside individual, inside human beings, there is a difference. And Irene is different from Stanley. And Edith is different from Carol. We are not the same. Even if you recite the same script, you use the same smile, whatever it is, maybe when you are putting a mask and maybe you try to project, let me tell you, there is no way, if I'm the one to be encouraged, there's the way I'm going to say, wait a minute, you have been an encouragement to me. Yet, other 9 people had actually still gave me the same script. Why is it that when Winnie speaks to me, I feel a difference? This is the same reason that I assure people robots will never take your divine human difference. Even that robot, which can come and recite the same script to encourage you, there is no way it can dispense the grace. Because what we carry is not the transactional jobs that we do. Oh, who are you? I'm an accountant. That a robot will take. Who are you? I'm an engineer. A robot will take your engineering. But a robot will never take the divine uniqueness, which is a difference in you on how you impact others. And that makes you safe. I speak a lot in AI issue, the big data, data science, and all that. And I know for sure there is security for people who are revealing their purpose, because there's no way the robot will take that. But the transactional jobs of accounting, project management, planning, coordinating, a robot will do 10 times, 100 times better than you.
All right. Thank you very much, Gabriel. Thank you for that. So the next question here is, can someone fulfill their purpose when they do not know it?
I think it's good that question has come when I've already addressed the previous one.
Yeah.
The general purpose of humanity, most of the times, you may not even have to be privy to it. You still fulfill it. I don't need to train a human being to dominate the world. That's a general thing. God had made it, whether evil or good, people, whether they are righteous, they believe in God or not, only human being can dominate. They will do extractive work, constructive work, all those things, creativity, because they carry the likeness and the image of God in themselves. That's a general bias on humanity that you won't find in the elephants, you won't find in the crocodiles, never. So the general purpose of humanity, you will actually fulfill it, even without knowing. Now, I will say this. There are times where also God now, I'll take one step back there. God actually sometimes may fulfill his own purpose, because remember, this purpose is not yours. It's who created you who is actually in charge, not you. So there are times where God can orchestrate situations where you actually may end up being in a purpose situation, but you're completely ignorant about it. And it happens. And you probably even don't acknowledge. And I'll say this because even before I discovered my life purpose, honestly, when I now came later to retrospect, I could see some footprints. Wait a minute. Even when I was in high school, I can relate. There are things I used to do. Now I see. It was the purpose calling, but I didn't know it is. Now, the only thing is that what you don't recognize, you will never leverage. That's the warning. Meaning, if you don't recognize something, even a gift on you, you'll never leverage that gift. So the thing is, even if you're fulfilling unconsciously, or maybe without knowing, or ignorance and all that, or maybe you are disobeying, the thing is, you will never reach a point of leverage. Leverage is where you optimize and you maximize. But I'll also give another dimension. The other dimension is purpose is an act of obedience to God. Moses had two phases of his purpose, and I'm sure maybe you have read the Bible. Before he went to the burning bush, we have an account. He saw an Egyptian, and he knew and he had witnessed how the children of Israel were being tortured or kind of put into slavery. And even before the burning bush, when he was just out there in the wilderness, he saw this guy, and he was abusing or kind of enslaving the Israel, and he went there and actually beat the guy and killed the guy. Would you tell me he was not fulfilling the purpose? Somehow, because God is actually the one who had said, I want to redeem the children of Israel, but he had not yet commissioned Moses to do it. But within Moses' upbringing, he had a sense of conviction. Wait a minute, these people need to be freed up. The slavery must stop. He had those strong conviction within himself. The only thing, he had not gotten to the burning bush, where now God is now making it clear, Moses, I'm now sending you. Look at David when he's killing the bear and the lion in the wilderness before even coming to kill Goliath. Why was that testimony before the victory of the past? Why was it so much relating to what is going to come and do when now he became the king? Those are two stages. What I wanted to say is this, that even in our own unconscious, ignorant, sometimes God may use in the time of ignorance. In fact, the Bible says that during ignorance, at the time of ignorance, God overlook you. However, this is a warning. The moment it is revealed to you now the clarity of your purpose, it demands responsibility. It demands obedience. So when you don't know it, it's okay. God may still orchestrate you because he's in charge of everything. He might make you even get other people redeemed and you don't know. But how much is it if you know it and you're in good terms, you have the right identity, of course, with your maker, and then now you're intentionally living it, you are going to multiply more impact. That's the only thing that you're going to miss. Of course, I forgot to say that you cannot pursue purpose optimally without being in good fellowship with who created you, because he's the one who sent you. So you have to make sure you're in constant fellowship of your maker, because that's where you draw. The identity comes before purpose. If your identity is compromised, even the purpose is always corruption, because you can abuse also the direction of your purpose.
Mm. All right. Thank you, Gabriel, for that. Purpose is an act of obedience to God. I love that. So the other question from what I have here is, what's the difference between purpose coaching and life coaching?
Yeah, good. Somehow they are very overlapping. Of course, if you remove purpose from life, you have a very directionless, meaningless living. I give a story of somebody who succeeded in a career path and even become a CEO. So you can consider that he went through the whole holistic life of, I've grown in my career. Maybe you also have a good family, because life is very holistic. It has all dimensions. I know there's people who use what we call the wheel of life, whether it's the economic, the social, all those things. I know you know the wheel of life. It has so many faculties. So life coaching mostly is centered around all the wheels of life. You're growing, of course, socially. That is mean your association with others, with yourself. That's like emotions, in terms of emotional intelligence areas, financially, cognitively, in terms of your brain power, you're thinking, you're imagining, you are feeding into education, and therefore you are growing knowledge. All those are heuristic dimensions of life. So life coaching address that. Purpose coaching address all that, but in the direction of purpose. So whether you're doing business, for example, you're able to do purpose-led business, redemptive business. So it is actually the validation of the entire life, because purpose and life is almost the same thing. Because the why you are created is the why your life is there. So your life is a canvas. I can give you a blank canvas, a blank page. So your life is a blank canvas, sorry. But what you write on it need a direction, because you may end up succeeding in the wrong direction. And what has happened is that if you are going through coaching without clarity of the direction, and that's why we are getting long even in the normal coaching process, people will still succeed because principles always work. I can give you 10 principles to get promotion, and you get promoted. So what? That's the question. You get promoted, so what? So there are two questions we usually ask, which are very dangerous. Why and so what? Somebody will come and tell me, I want to go and start a business. Why? So that I can be economically free. So what? You get that question? Then again, you ask another why. So what? Another why. In purpose coaching, we don't make steps until, first of all, you are clear with the direction. When the direction is clear, everything else falls into place. Whether it's your career, whether it's your business. I know I don't have time, but probably could have taken you something we call the realms, the three realms of livelihood, the three realms of life. There's a realm we call survival. The survival realm is where you do what you do, even while you are chasing a promotion at the workplace, so that you can get a higher salary increment, you get promoted, you get a higher pay, so that you do what? I pay my mortgages, I pay my bills, I educate my children, and all that. So what? All those things can get into that space. So we call that the realm of survival, where it's earn a living. It is the basic elementary level of some kind of living. And I don't think that gives you fulfillment, because if you work for survival, you will never get fulfilled. Now, the second dimension is something we call engagement, the realm of engagement. The realm of engagement is where you want to account time, or what you call productivity and performance. We call that the realm of engagement. So this is what will happen. You can say, I can account what I have done between 8 to 5. You can be too busy, meaning there probably could be productivity. You are chunking throughputs of the work that you're doing. So you're busy generally, but does not necessarily translate into impact and fulfillment. Now, the third realm is what we call the impact realm, where it's where whatever you do is for that redemptive impact that you're producing to others, meaning it's no longer for yourself. Now, apparently, because of some ideologies in life which have held many people captive, and one biggest ideology is what we call the Maslow hierarchy of needs. It's usually it holds you into slavery, because it is kind of presuming that you have to survive first, meet your basic needs, physiological needs, self-actualization happen way later, which for me, I usually say that's a deception. It's actually the other way around. You pursue your purpose, which is actually your utmost actualization. Out of it, you'll find your provision for survival is guaranteed there. And I again quote the Bible there. There's a reason why Jesus himself, when he was talking to disciples, actually, because he was trying to doctrinate them in terms of the discipleship, and told them, do not worry what to do, what to eat, what to drink, the shelter, the dressing. I'll pause there. That's the book of Matthew. Do you know what? The things that he was telling them not to worry, to date, that's why many people wake up every day to go to work. That's why people are taking loans to earn a living, to afford a meal, what to eat, what to drink, what to dress, what will I dress, a shelter, I buy a mortgage. Let me tell you, all those things are living for yourself. And it will never be fulfilling if you live for yourself. Now, I was there also, almost 13 years of my corporate experience, but I can tell you another different conversation. The moment I shifted my gear into, I am more worried, not necessarily of my livelihood, I'm more worried about me obeying the redemptive purpose I have. Let me tell you, I have never lacked. I've never failed to pay school fees for my kids. I've never lacked to have my shelter. Everything, those things are now, they actually have never been worried about them. It's the last thing I can never be worried about. However, we have grown up in a very distorted ideological reality. And that ideological reality is you have to survive before you thrive. And that's the long ideology. So until you invert the Maslow hierarchy, there's a way we usually do purpose mapping, and I think I can see one or two people who have attended our purpose coaching here. There's a way we invert the pyramid. We have a certain very interesting pyramid that we use in the purpose coaching. It's a complete paradigm shift on what you know, especially as Maslow hierarchy of needs. So yes, you can be able to live life that is fulfilling, impactful, and transcending by being able to obey your purpose. These other things actually will always follow. You'll always find that you'll fix your bills, you'll fix your school fees, you'll fix all those other things, because there's a way. And this is a restriction I can give again. If I send you as an ambassador of Kenya to Mozambique today, I tell you, Abanas, I send you to Mozambique to be my ambassador there. And I have an assignment I've given you to go and accomplish. I want you to go and mobilize for me beekeepers there. So I'm sending Abanas here to Mozambique. Who should be worried about Albanas where to stay? Do you know our ambassadors, even who are in Kenya, they are not supposed even to worry about where to stay? The authorities that sent them take care of them. So if I'm sending you, I will make sure you have where to stay, you have where to eat, and your security is guaranteed. Your work is what? To fulfill the assignment I sent you to do in Albanas. And if you need anything, ask me. Now, do you know that's how God has sent us here on earth? He came from heaven. He sent you here for an assignment, not to eat and drink. No. Those things, he knows them actually. He knows you need them. So it's a whole paradigm shift literally. Apparently because of the ideology, including our education system, it's very faulty. And when I even coach, whether old or young, some of the things we do in the coaching, purpose coaching, is to deconstruct the ideologies that had held us captive. They have made us a slave to ourselves to date. So yes, I think we can have this more in another conversation. I can see our time is really gone. This was just a quick free nugget of a clinic, and I'm sure in other conversation you can be able to dissect some of those topics. They need more deeper interjection so that you can be able to get the concepts quite right.
Okay. All right, thank you, Gabriel. There's a follow-up question on that. Someone is saying that, does it assume as a believer there's no way when you're in communion with God, like, I'm trying to rephrase it. So does it mean as a believer, you can't miss your purpose in life? So does it also mean as a believer, you can ask God directly to give you your life purpose?
I don't know that I've gotten that question right. Maybe I'll attempt to interpret it the way I've understood it. I think I'm getting two mix of versions. Can you assume because you're a believer, you're living your purpose? Absolutely no. Believing and fulfilling your purpose are two different things, because believing, of course, is the acknowledgement of God over your life, and of course, whatever he has promised, and of course, living according to his, keep his ordinances and all that. But a purpose go beyond that. It's an instruction you have to obey, because God can send you and you refuse to go. Come on, Jonah. So you can be, Jonah was sent, but he refused to go. Though, of course, we know what happened later. So you can disobey because of other ideological issues or comfort zone or fear. So it doesn't because you believe in God. In fact, I dare say majority of believers actually are struggling with their purpose. I would dare say that. Why? Is because they are only settled at the universal purpose of glorifying God. But they are not fulfilling any meaningful purpose in their life to advance God's agenda. That's the most unfortunate thing. So simply because you're a believer doesn't mean you're living God's purpose. No. You can be a believer but disobedient in the course of direction that God wants to do. Because God may tell you, I want you to go to Tunisia. And in Tunisia is where I want to go to empower women. And then you look at, hey, myself, how can I leave my family here? You know, those things. They are not comfortable sometimes. Because, and I'll give you my testimony, I was still a believer before I discovered my purpose. I was still a believer for many years throughout my life. Let me tell you what happened. My background is scientific. I'm a data scientist. I love AI. I love big data analytics. I have those things. I love computing. I love programming. Those stuff, I love them. And because of that, when the time came that God is directing me to do coaching, liberate people around this purpose-led living, I am a scientist. I want to give me data. I will crunch numbers. Give me AI. I'll build an algorithm for AI, artificial intelligence. I love those things. I do them even today. I struggled that God is telling me, and this is the conviction, that I want you to release people, you know, like make me free from the bondage of purposeless living. Let me tell you, I struggled. Why? I was an extreme introvert, first of all. The way I'm speaking here, people who know me 25 years ago, you'll be shocked this is not Gabriel that is speaking here. I was a guy who hid behind the computer, the laptop, and crunch numbers. I'll give you dashboards and all that and analytics, and I stopped my work there. Then God is telling me, Gabriel, you need to go and liberate people from this purposeless living. I struggled with it for several years because my natural was the other way around in terms of what I thought. And that's why I came to actually disapprove that the personalities we usually hide ourselves. We hide ourselves on personality. That is not you. You are not your personality. No. A personality is an adaptation of you to the reality you are growing into. So you may say, oh, I'm an introvert. Who told you an introvert? I know we do those profiling there a lot. We do those assessments. We have hide ourselves behind that. So being a believer, to go back to the question, does not necessarily make you that you're living purposeless living. You may only be fulfilling the universal purpose, the universal of glorifying God, that's okay. But you may be disobeying the personal instruction that is unique to you. There's a question I ask people, which is very dangerous. I ask them two questions. One, will the universe or the planet miss anything if you are never born? What will be the creation miss if Rosemary, you are never born. What will the creation miss anything? Monica, Carol, Edwin, will creation ever miss anything if you are never born? That's a very dangerous question. Meaning, the universe can continue without you. Number two is, if you write your account 300 years to come, what will you write? So write it backwards in retrospect. 300 years to come. Do you know what? You'll never write anywhere, I did my MBA in strategy, I did my I don't know what, I was a CEO. Nothing of those will appear anywhere. I was a manager somewhere, nothing will appear anywhere. It is the impact you made on fellow human being that will be accounted as your legacy. It's not about all these other things. Now, those can help you see, even if you're a believer and you're not living in that context, still, it is still purposeless. And what will happen is, you go to heaven, yes, but there'll be an account that you'll have missed. There are people who are dying because you never liberated them. There are people who needed to read your book. There are people who needed to listen to your encouragement and not commit suicide. So you are going to heaven, yes, because you are believing in God, but there are people you owe redemption by your act of obedience. So maybe if you wrote that book, there's a family that is going through divorce that will read that book and they will not go through that divorce. Maybe you could have run that financial empowerment program. There's somebody who will be liberating their family out of poverty, but because of your refusal to obey, you owe them. And you're still a believer. I'm talking about believers now, okay? So it does not necessarily translate because you're a believer, you are living the purpose. No. It has to go beyond just the believing to the obedience of the instruction on your life as your life assignment. So I don't know that I understood that question. I know it was quite not very clear, but I hope I've attempted to address it in a way or another.
Yeah, thank you, Gabriel. I think you have. There's the second bit that was asking, can I ask God directly for my life purpose?
Yes. Perfect. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, you can go to the burning bush, look for where the bush is burning. Look for where the bush is burning, remove your shoes, and go and approach the bush out of curiosity. Look at what was going through Moses. You saw a burning bush, and that's quite an extraordinary thing, and you see a burning bush, and the bush is not burning, but there's fire. And then out of curiosity, what is happening here? And observe, and observing, which to him was a natural observance, was observing nature, and also a burning bush. And out of it, he had an encounter, and God directly spoke to him. Why not? God has not changed. He will instruct you even through a dream or a vision or whatever it is. We can't limit God to do that. But sometimes also, the patterns in your life, including your experiences, including even the gifts that you have, gifts are God-sponsored resources to implement your purpose. Your gifts are not your purpose. To just make that point clear, your gifts are not your purpose. Gifts are resources. God is a sponsor. God sponsors his purpose, and he has given you a capital. That capital that you have is not money, it's your gift. The only challenge is gifts do not have a direction. Purpose gives the direction. So you can have gifts and you misuse the gifts. Even terrorists sometimes are using their gifts. People who are singing very bad songs, like the guys who have been blacklisted recently, I saw on social media, are they not using God-given gifts? Yes, because gifts can be abused. So the thing is to ask God to give you convictions and the direction where you need to direct your gifts so that they can serve the purpose he has called you. As I remember I said, you have always to begin with establishing strong convictions, not necessarily passion. Passion should come as a result of your obedience and execution. I know that's one of the, I have done a video, maybe patients maybe you can check on my YouTube. I've done a video differentiating two things. The difference between purpose and passion. You need passion, yes, but purpose is not passion. I've also done another one where I differentiate between purpose and meaning. I know there are people who have read what you call the Ikigai model. The Ikigai is the Japanese, synonymous of the meaning and also purpose they mentioned there. However, you have to be very careful, even with that Ikigai. You have to be very careful with that Ikigai. I know there are those things to talk about, the things that you love, the things that you can be paid for, and all those things. It's okay. It can be a good inventory, but be very careful. Ikigai may not necessarily be the purpose. There are things you can be paid for, you are passionate about, the world needs them, you are good at them. because that's what Ikigai does. And the intersection of that is say that your Ikigai. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It may be a pointer, but not necessarily an absolute pointer. So I've done a video for that again, even trying to differentiate between meaning. Finding meaning and finding purpose are two different things. Every purpose is meaningful, but not every meaning is purpose-led. I know that could be another statement I can do for another two hours. Maybe I can see our time is up. I don't know whether there's anything burning.
Yeah, we actually were hoping to close by 9:30.
Okay.
Yeah. So
right.
I'll just ask very quickly. There's someone who's saying, if I'm 45 years old, how can I plan so that I make sure I have meaning? I bring impact in my life in the remaining years.
Yeah. I want to encourage that person that purpose is indiscriminate of age. If you get to 60 years and that's when you discover your purpose, you are going to have a very fulfilling, remember I thought about fit living, F-I-T, fulfilling, impactful, transcending living, even if it is 3 years. And I always give people an example. Jesus himself, how long did he live? He never lived 100 years and 200 years. That 3 years, straight on purpose, he knew why he came and executed, that is it. And that's why you should tell people, even if God allows you to live 20 years alone, if I find a youth who live 20 years and they have executed their purpose, maybe they have fulfilled their purpose, it's okay. It's okay. You can live 100 years purposeless, and that is vanity still. So the thing is, what am I trying to say? It doesn't matter at what point you discover your purpose. The time you had not discovered it, God sometimes overlook that. As I said in the beginning, knowledge and liberation demand responsibility. Because knowledge is a form of truth. Truth should help you become free. So the moment you know something and you discover it, from there henceforth, let me tell you, it is going to demand responsibility. When you're ignorant, somehow in God's own way of grace, he kind of still make you, things will work and all that in a certain way. But the moment it will be revealed to you, this is your assignment. From there moving forward, you have to obey. Because if you don't obey, you get a lot of, I don't know what to call it, frustration and all that. It's not going to be very fulfilling. The moment you know what you're supposed to do and you don't do it, even the guilt. I've coached people who even 70 years old, unfortunately. I've even have a person who was 75 years old. And he was telling me, Gabriel, I have brought up my kids. They are all working. I am a grandfather, but I still feel this emptiness within me. My life is worth more than parenting. Yet you have spent all your time, and that's what we do as parents. Of course, I have to make sure my children grow well. That's okay. But there's always a void within you of a debt you have to pay, because like a debt, you have to pay to humanity. And if you don't do it, it is going to always follow you, even when you're 70 years. I know I've given this story quite a lot, maybe for the sake of those who have never heard about it. One of my journey that I experienced through in my life, especially when I was in the HR practice many years ago, is when we did a retrenchment and we were laying off people. And I met quite a number of people. We were laying off around 104 employees. 97 of them passed through my desk. And most of them are very senior guys, very senior. People who are earning millions and they had all resources you can think, maybe materially, that's what you call success. And I remember this lady who came to my desk and she was crying. She had served the bank for 27 years. Then she sat on my desk. She was 50s, actually. She sat on my desk and told me, Gabriel, I am happy that I'm getting this caviar package, voluntary early retirement, and it was several millions anyway. Having cleared all the loans, no mortgage, no car loan, everything cleared, and she was still having a net take home of several millions. And I'm talking about almost 17 years ago. I know her because in HR, of course, you get to understand many people. You know what people are going through. I know her children were all working abroad, actually. They had already gone past university, they were working. So an empty nest. I know she was around the road, meaning she was, she was earning. I know where she was staying, in one of the top estates in Nairobi. Then the lady is sitting on my desk telling me, I still feel some voidness in me, like I'm going home empty. I also myself, that time I was in my 20s. I struggled with that statement. What are you meaning? You're feeling empty? You have no room? You are taking several tens of millions? In 17 years ago, even taking home 2 million was a lot of money, let me tell you. I'm talking about more than that. You live in the best estate, your children are working, you have no room, and then you're telling me you're feeling empty. You have served the bank 27 years. You're telling me you still feel some voidiness. And I start questioning. So parenting is not good enough. It still give you voidiness. Working for 27 years is still not fulfilling. Having all these resources, assets, you are an adult, it's still not fulfilling. Then what is it that is the human being that still remain that if you don't pay that debt, you'll never be comfortable? That's one of the things that made me actually make a resolution. I have to be purpose-led. So at 45 is too early still anyway, but I don't mean it's too early. You need to discover your purpose when you're even a teenager. That's okay. But at whatever age God reveals to you, from there henceforth, it will demand responsibility. So what you need to do to answer the second part of that question, of course, is make sure you journal your convictions. Make sure you are clear with your convictions. The life conviction that activates you. That's one of the biggest assignments. Of course, the whole process, maybe I may dispense in another session, or maybe you can follow some of my YouTube channels I've done. I've done some free talks around discovering your purpose. Now, we may not be able to exhaust that. There are several methods we use, but the obvious method is just to go to your maker and ask the maker, okay? But there's a way also God used some evidence around you, patterns of life. Like you are talking about the pain you go through can be a dimension of purpose. Horrid discontent, the things that gives you discomfort, environment that keep attracting can also be an element or a pointer towards your purpose. These that give you unquestionable and kind of unexplainable joy or fulfillment after you've done them, and it's nothing to do with yourself, you know? They also give you that. So you have many pointers that can give you to your purpose. Of course, you need a bit of more structured process that can help you journal your life. But if God reveals you in a dream, why not? You can't limit God. Yeah. However, I have seen it very consistent that sometimes God will use patterns in your life to actually mirror your life purpose. But you'll later discover there are things that are not very far away from what you even know before. Maybe you are trying to suppress them because of the quest for survival, the quest for earning a life. You know, life can be too busy. Life can be very noisy that you don't listen to those inner voices that actually are convicting you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Gabriel. I want to ask one last, even as we close. So maybe we'll extend by around 3 minutes. But so there's one question someone was asking, for those who are unmarried and praying to God for a helper, how do you identify the partner that can help you in implementing your why?
I'll answer that question by saying that are very good. You are in the most safe place that you can begin that before you get your partner. Because one of the greatest challenges you are going to have in life is if you get a purpose, if you are not sure of your purpose, then you get into a relationship, you discover your purpose when you're inside now the marriage, and then your purpose becomes something that your partner is not comfortable with. What do I mean? You know, you can be, God can tell you your work is, and your assignment, I've revealed to you your assignment is to work with the drunkards. And then your wife, you know, you are going, that means you're going to spend time with drunkards, eh? Or people who are miserable, or people who are financially broke, you know. And God wants you to remove their poverty, or kind of to help them, empower them. And then your spouse, literally, maybe that's not something he's comfortable with. You're going to struggle. Now, I'll make a statement there first, that if you are a man, you have more responsibility first. Because God created work before wife. If you know the story of Genesis. God created work literally. In Genesis 2:5, he says, there was no shrub in the garden. There were no trees after creation. Then he says, Genesis 2:5, because God had not sent rain, number one. Number two, there was no man in the garden to work in the garden. So God had withheld vegetation. He has created, let the sun be, let the light be, all those things. But he says there was no shrub in the garden, meaning the garden had no vegetation. nothing was growing. Why? God had not sent rain. That is his part. Number two, there was no man in the garden to work. Now, for men, I usually tell men, if you are not clear with your purpose, don't even think about your wife first. This is wisdom for men. Now, for ladies, you are a suitable divine helper for men, of course. You have your own purpose. You have your own individual purpose. But in that purpose, you discover there's a way God will make it in a way, it will become a suitable helper also for the man. Now, this is the risk. If you're trying to get married to a man who doesn't know their purpose, you have nothing to help. I know whether I'm communicating right. Remember, you said you're a suitable helper. Help in what? You should help the man have the purpose, yes. So if the man is purposeless, let me tell you, I have, and this is honest observation because I coach couples, I have coached many people, whether they are married or not. I have always seen a pattern where the man does not have clarity of the purpose. The wife suffers most because it is so frustrating to be with a man who has no direction of conviction of their purpose. Then you are supposed to be there as a suitable helper to help what, literally. So if the man is directionless, automatically the wife suffers a lot because the wife will be attempt to play the role. It's like you want to fill the vacuum, yet that becomes frustrating. But where the man is so clear with the conviction, and then the wife positioned to be a suitable helper, and you can help differently. My wife doesn't have to do what I do, doesn't actually have to do, he doesn't even do any purpose coaching, no. My wife doesn't do that. But there's an alignment between me and my wife that is so suitable to reinforce me to do what I do. As she does her own things. She's even into other things like wellness. She does holistic wellness, physical fitness, and other things out there. Completely, it's not necessarily my part. That's not my part. However, there's somewhere we converge, literally, where actually to complement what I do as a suitable helper. So I'll say it is very important to think about purpose, even what I may call purpose-led dating. I'm hoping to do a program very soon. I know I've done it, but not necessarily in a, I want to put it in a book or a series that in a video on something you call purpose-led dating, literally. How you can go through a process during dating to discover your purpose before marriage. But of course, it happened now you are already married. You have then to live the reality, definitely. So you discover the purpose in God's own wisdom. The best gift that God has given us is the power of transformation. If people never transform, let me tell you, this world will be very unbearable. One of the things I usually say is that God has given you the gift to transform. That means you can change the version of the self. You can transform. So you can adjust with each other. You can adapt. That's because God has given us the gift of transformation. Number two, of course, the gift of learning. You can learn something. So if you find yourself, of course, in a relationship now, you're already married and all that, doesn't mean that because you discover your purpose, you have to divorce or separate. No. You may have to see how to adapt and transform on each other to support that divine purpose. Because if you don't do it again, it's an act of disobedience and it's not going to be fulfilling at the end of the day. So, but it's a conversation we can have in depth on its own as a whole topic, maybe purpose-led marriage. I have a series for purpose-led manhood. That one is a series I have completely, which we talk about purpose-led manhood, a man on a mission in a market leveraging money to build a movement. There are 5 M's we use for that. I'm hoping maybe I'm going to do something for purpose-led woman, but there's of course the normal purpose coaching for everybody regardless of your gender.
Thank you, Gabriel. That's it for tonight. I think I just want to say thank you. Thank you for you sharing your knowledge with us, your wisdom. I just hope each one of us, speaking of which, the gift of learning, I just hope each one of us has left with something. And maybe just to share that we will be having these sessions every month. So we will have the purpose coaching clinics every month. So make sure you sign up to when you see it so that you may be able to join in every month. And then just if you need to discover your purpose as well. So we have purpose coaching, so that shares practical, lessons. And of course, this is, more suited for you to be able to discover your purpose. So it's important that you sign up. It's usually 10 weeks. Maybe Patience, you can share the link so that those who are willing to join can join in. And then you can sign up for it. And then you know, sometimes you get to a place where you feel you're not fulfilled, you feel stuck, you feel you want more. You know, your soul can tell you you're craving more. So maybe it's time to join this purpose coaching so that you get to know what your purpose is. So I want to invite each one of us. Patience is going to share the link on the chat box. So feel free to sign up. Yeah, and just welcome to do this coaching session with us. I don't know if you want to add anything, Gabriel, but thank you so much for everything you've shared tonight.
It's okay, thank you. Yes, I usually do a quarterly, maybe just to add more details, usually do a quarterly 10 weeks coaching series for discount. That's level 1, 10 weeks. We have what we call purpose-led living. It's usually 10 weeks. We usually do only one intake per quarter. So I don't do mid. So I usually do January to March. Like now there's a program already that is ending in March. There'll be another one April to June, July to September, and then up to December. I only do that quarterly. I don't do in between. And that's usually the best way to be able to subscribe to that. The 10 weeks, you're going to do 5 Fs. Find your purpose, square it, that's fuel your purpose. Then you focus your purpose, where you do purpose mapping, a very nice way of doing, like when you do vision board, we have something you call purpose maps. And then you fulfill, and finally you future-proof. There are 5 Fs. So you'll find, you will focus, you fuel, you fulfill it, and then you future-proof it. It's a very transformational program that will encourage us. If you happen to finish that, then we do another level for leaders. Those who are keen to leadership, we have something we call purpose-led leadership. How now do you lead others using purpose? It's a very interesting program. It's also take another 10 weeks. Then we also have another one, which is usually the signature program we call, you can become also a certified purpose-led coach. Now, for you to become a certified purpose-led coach, you have to have done the first 2, so that you can be able now even to coach others to become purpose-led leaders and purpose-led living and all that. Then finally, there's a program we do for purpose-led transformation for organizations. So if you're in consultancy and you want to help organizations to create compelling purpose, this is now not individual, now organization-wide, we have programs we run for purpose-led transformation for organizations to create what we call purpose-first experiences. Then every October, we run an annual event we call Purpose Fest, and we always celebrate people who are living their purpose living. We even have Purpose for Impact Awards, annual awards. We have done it for the last 2 years, and this is our 3rd year. And I can't wait for this year because it's going to be greater and bigger and very international. So be on the lookout. Join our purpose community. Maybe I don't know if Patience can share any. We have purpose communities where we have WhatsApp groups where we share some nuggets throughout the week on some purpose-led conversations, which is very transformational for all of us. So there are so many channels. Follow me on YouTube, follow me on Twitter. I am not very active on Twitter, though I'm there, but Facebook, Instagram, and also LinkedIn, I'm quite active. You can follow some of the updates that we make quite often. So be on the lookout for the next purpose clinic that we're going to do. And also invite us in your organization. Sometimes we could do speaking engagements to companies, to churches, to chairmans, to groups, just to bring this conversation globally. So thank you so much, and God bless you all. May we all live fulfilling, impactful, and transcending lives ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you, everybody.